welcome to another episode of Game Time, your weekly podcast with your guys, SnowBikeMike and Tom Bock, where we gather together and we talk about all things video games and sports-related topics. Of course, it's episode 7. We're shaking off that winter hibernation. We're getting back in the flow of recording podcasts together, and you are now joined with your boy, SnowBikeMike, and of course, my co-host, Tommy Gun Tom Bock. What's going on, Big Tom?
Dude, how long has it been since we've done this? It feels like it's been like a year. I think it's been 3 weeks. What are we doing? We got to pull our lives together, man. It's been way too long. Way too long.
It has been way too long, Tom Bock. We've been doing our best to get on the same page. We're very busy guys, but you know what? We do love one thing, and that is recording this Game Time podcast, so I'm super excited. And, of course, now that we're back, it's been a while. Let's start off with topic number 1, which is going to be simple. What have you been playing, Tom Bock? Where have you been all my life? Tell me what you've been up to.
Well, man, I've been traveling like crazy. Unfortunately, I think that's why we haven't recorded. It's probably more on me than it is on you, just because I've been gone. You've been busy too, in truth. So, man, I've been playing a bunch of stuff. I haven't finished anything, so my perspectives on some of these are gonna be a little disjointed, only because I haven't finished them. So I've probably put 10 hours into State of Decay. 10 to 12-ish, which you've played some too, right? You've squatted up and played a few hours of that.
Why don't we start off with State of Decay 2? Why don't you tell me your thoughts and impressions? I'll give you mine.
Yeah, man. So what's really interesting to me about this game, it's a game that I really want to like. I want to like it more than I think I do like it, because, dude, it's got like all the elements of stuff that I would dig in a game, right? It's got a fun, big, giant open world. There's a ton of crap to do. The combat is decent enough to kind of keep you going. There's like all the kind of base building aspects of it, the RPG elements of it. But dude, it's like there's something that's just missing for me in this game that I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it is. And I don't know how your experience has been with it, but man, I feel like every time I get a little bit outside, so I did all the basic stuff, got the base going, cleared out all the shit around me. I just feel like I'm chasing my tail, man. I feel like I'm running out, gathering stuff, bringing it back. People consume it, they eat it. There doesn't seem to be a story that I can find in it, which is kind of a missed opportunity, because it seems like it'd be pretty cool to, like, why are we here? And maybe eventually it'll get there if I play long enough. But man, I feel like I'm just spinning. And I played it again last night for a couple hours, and it was the same feeling of I'm not making any progress. I'm just progressing far enough to get supplies, to keep it going, to get supplies, to keep it going. So I'm just kind of spinning. And I'm not, I like it. I think about it when I'm not playing it, but I think it mainly because I'm more interested to see if it's ever going to turn into anything more than what it has so far. So what about you, man? Where do you fall on it?
I think you hit the nail right on the hammer right on the nail for me, Tom Bock. I feel like it's State of Decay with the nice little up-res graphics. You got that multiplayer aspect, which really saves the game for me. Because I got to say, I love State of Decay. I think it's a fun time. But when I played State of Decay 1, I pushed that story until it ended. I didn't get stuck in the loop that I'm feeling right now in State of Decay 2 of I drop off 5 rucksacks full of medicine, and then I come back, they say we don't have any food, and now I got to go back out again. And I feel like the missions truly are a little sparse for me. I mean, shout out to our guy out there, Gifted Dim, Lifted Kim. He played with me, and I felt like every time we did a mission, it would be another 30 minutes before they would give me another mission to do. And that 30 minutes left me and Gifted Dim to just run in circles, go get more rucksacks, just kind of, continue that cycle. And that's not really what I wanted to continue to do, even though when you look at it in retrospect, that is the game. You need to continue to get all these supplies, build out your base little by little, and just kind of keep going through that cycle. But I will say the map is huge, Tom Bock, and I haven't truly even explored. I think we just got 1/3 of the map. I'm pretty sure there's another 2/3 that go out even further on the map. So, I've only dug into the surface of it. I love it because it's more State of Decay, but that grind of chasing your tail, continuously bringing back rucksacks and having to go back out for more, really not my cup of tea right now. So I've put that one to rest, and I've moved on. What else are you playing, Tom?
Well, let me finish on State of Decay too, because I feel like there's got to be more to it. I mean, as you know, it's a really complicated game, right? There's tons of stuff in it. All of the mechanics. All the base building aspects, dude. That shit's like there's a lot of stuff there. Just to even understand what half the stuff does takes a huge amount of time. But man, I feel like if I get over a hump of some kind, like as soon as you can start making your own food, making your own medicine, so all the rucksack crap that you're doing, as soon as you can kind of automate all that, I feel like the game might open up. And I'd love to hear from people in the community who have put more hours than me in if that does happen. Because man, there's a part of me that wants to keep grinding through that thing. I don't know why. As soon as I turn it off, like a couple hours later, I'm like, yeah, let me go put another hour in. And I feel like it keeps bringing me back because I just feel like as soon as I get to a spot, eventually it won't be such a grind. I don't know. I'd love to hear from other people because
I
I
think
do
it's a
kind of want to keep playing it.
it's a perfect Games Pass game. It's a Games
Yeah.
Pass game for me. Just like we talked about with Sea of Thieves a couple weeks ago, this is not a game that I would sink $40 to $60 into. This
Yeah.
is a game where you pick it up on Games Pass for $9.99 a month, and you just get it for free until you're done, or you stop the Games Pass. And I think it's a perfect Games Pass situation, but
Yeah.
not a full retail game for me at all.
I think you're right. I think you're right. So that I've been playing a ton of. Pivot over to, we can talk a little bit about Detroit. I think you and I played about the same number of hours of Detroit. I played a few more hours this morning, so I think I'm a little bit ahead of you. Maybe a couple of, I don't call them missions or whatever the individual little segments are. Um, why don't you kick us off on that one? I want to hear you go first, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts on it.
Tom Bock, I get goosebumps thinking about Detroit. Like, it is unsettling good. You know what I mean? Just that intro of that AI bot coming onto your screen, cute looking girl, and she's setting up the settings with you. It's like, holy crap, like, this is how we're going to do the settings right now.
Oh
And
yeah.
from that point forward, I had this feeling like, man, like, this is super cool. Is this really what the AI bot revolution will feel like? And from that point forward, you jump in, and I believe you start as Connor the cop, I believe.
Yeah.
And,
That's the first
Connor
one.
walks in, and all the police guys are kind of looking at him like, yo, F this robot. The lady, the mom's like, why did you send the robot? And I'm like, hey, lady, like, don't worry about it. I'm going to save your
I
daughter,
got
you
you.
know? And I will say, man, how cool of a start that is to be
Yeah.
given that whole apartment as your open world, we'll call it. And you can go through every scenario of looking at the daughter's room, looking at where the dad hid the gun and then the robot took the gun. And you kind of start piecing all these together. And my favorite part, Tom, is it tells you the probability of you,
Yeah.
saving this girl. And I'm over there in like the 60s, and I'm like, what did I miss? I feel like I've gone through the whole room. And once you complete it, then it will show you the whole tree that went through and anything that you might have missed. So I thought that was really cool. I did save the girl, so shout out to my AI bot, Connor, for being an
Connor
amazing
came
cop.
through.
I
Yeah.
looked at that helicopter. I was like, get out of here. And I sent it packing. And then from that point forward, you jump into Marcus, and he goes and gets the paintbrushes, and he gets beat down by the protesters. That was kind of unsettling, cool of, now we're setting the tone of people don't really like you AI bots, and we're trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And then the Kara scene, whoa, that was unsettling. I will say that. Waking up in the store, the guy coming up, he's super scary looking, and you're kind of getting your bearings, and you go back home with him, and like you kind of have a backstory of like what happened, but you don't know what happens until you explore the house. And I gotta say, that is a lot of fun, and somehow they make mindless chores Dewey of I cleaned that entire dude's house for no reason. I shouldn't have even cleaned that
Yeah.
man's house because he's a bad
Screw
guy.
him.
But they
He's a bad
made
guy.
it super fun. So I was out there folding clothes. I turned on a vacuum. I stared at some hockey. He threw a ball at me or something crazy. He didn't like that. But man, I gotta say, Detroit Become Human, graphics unbelievable. Storytelling is super cool, and it gives me chills to think about how wild and how crazy this game is. It's A++ stuff.
Man, wait till you see where that. Now I won't spoil anything, but wait till you see where that next Kara mission, the next one goes. If you think it got crazy, it gets really crazy. So here's what I'm just dying to see, and you and I will keep talking about this game because I'm invested too, right? So I definitively am going to keep going with it. There's no question it's one of those games, and you're not really playing it. I mean, I guess you kind of are. There's a few spots, especially as you'll see in the next couple missions, that are a little bit like the old Quantic Dream David Cage games where you have to hold multiple buttons, and if you miss a thing, like it, so there's a lot of quick time events that start up here pretty quick, which I, it'll be interesting to see how that the story varies. Like if you jack up one of the quick times, right, does that totally change the story? But man, what I'm interested in is, and I've talked to people and certainly seen enough podcasts and stuff of people who have crazy different games. Like and I'm even wondering in the first couple missions you and I played, and I saw some of the branches being a little different. But man, I can't wait to get into the ones where you get these insanely different outcomes. Like I saw Andy Cortez talking about his. crazy different than Barrett's was, and I mean, there's some really really cool stuff. In fact, the last one I played, and again I won't spoil it for you, my wife was watching because we had this crazy 13-year-old girl birthday party and we were trying to escape and just get some freaking peace of mind and some quiet. And so I was playing it and she was watching, and she generally, she's not a gamer, she doesn't really ever watch it, but she kind of got into it, right? Because it's like you said, the graphics are insane. It's the beautiful UHD 4K, right? I mean, it looks like a flipping movie. um, so we start going through the thing, and at the end, and this is the one you got coming up. In fact, I think it's either the next one, because you got the one where the son comes in, the
Yes,
kid
I
of
did
the old
that
man.
one. Yep.
Okay, so I think it's either the one after that or two after that. Dude, at the end when they show you the tree, your mind will go, okay, now I see where this game is going, because there was literally 10 different levels of stuff I didn't pick. I had the one that I chose, and then the next one was like 20, and I picked one. And then, so man, there's some crazy variants of stories coming for yours, and in my game too here really soon.
Oh,
um
I love it.
but dude, I'm loving it. Like look, it is a little ham-fisted. I understand what they keep talking about, sort of the state of the world, and obviously it's very kind of, where's our world headed, right, with technology, and maybe not androids, but what did it say, like 35% unemployment or something like that, right? I mean, it's which is what kind of the world's going to be faced with as we get more into machine learning, AI, all that stuff, right? It's going to have an impact on. So uh, so far I love it. I can't wait to see where it goes, and I can't wait to talk to you and others about how their stories and mine were just totally different.
Oh, so cool, Tom. Yeah, I'm loving the game. I can't wait to talk with like Gifted Dim or Greg Miller about getting the platinum on that game. I can't even imagine
Mm.
what the platinum is, but like, does that mean you got to go through every single story tree? I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe. You know what I mean? What's the
Yeah, I
platinum
haven't looked it
entail?
up. That's a great call. Like, yeah, how do you platinum a game like that? Do you have to go back and just redo the stuff you didn't do? Um, Plus, dude, a lot of famous actors in that. Like, I was looking through the IMDb
Oh,
of who's
pretty
in there.
amazing.
Wes Hendrickson and Jesse Williams. I mean, there's some, A-list or A
Oh,
minus kind of actors in that thing too, which kind of adds a whole nother element of, storytelling combined with, which was my issue with No Way Out, by the way, it was just the acting wasn't great compared to something like this, where you see somebody that's that caliber of an actor, kind of like Willem Dafoe was in the last, and Beyond Two Souls, right? Super high quality acting completely changes the way kind of it comes across.
totally, totally. I loved that one. What else have you been playing?
So man, that's kind of it. I mean, I think I've
Okay.
put most time into that. I know you got into a little bit of Dark Souls. I actually wore my Praise the Sun T-shirt here today.
You wore it just for me because I got
Just for you,
two
brother.
more
Just
games
for you.
on you right now. So,
Okay.
of course, we'll start off with Dark Souls Remastered. Gotta say, Tom, I'm loving it. It is such a great time to return to the original. Now, mind you, we've talked about this before, me and Tom and the podcast here, of I played Dark Souls 1 all the way up until the Bell Tower Gargoyles, which I could never defeat, and I put it down. But I was able to get back into Dark Souls 2, 3, and Bloodborne with the help of my boy, Sad Boy Sean, carrying me through the game. And man, did I fall in love with how punishing, how brutal, how beautiful, and how much fun all of this game series has been. And so I knew when they announced this remastered, it would have the online qualities that I needed. We were going to jump into this. And bang, just like that, I was on the phone. Sean said, let's go. And it was minutes. All I had to do was defeat the first boss, which is just a tutorial boss. He's very easy. And then he was able to meet up with me. So it felt nice. That's what I needed right away. But I will also say, I think all of my experience from the other games that I've played, plus this one, might be a little bit easier. I'm just saying it
Huh?
because, man, when I jumped out there, I felt like I was flexing on people. I mean, I was
Really?
beating things
Bowing
down.
up?
I'm looking at
Wow.
Sean like, did this become easier? And he's like, I don't think it's easier. Maybe you've just gotten better. So maybe it's a balance, but I felt like, man, this easier right now, Sean? So we were able to progress the story all the way to the Bell Tower Gargoyles. We beat them down, high five, butt slaps all around, and very excited to jump back in. I have not gone any further than that. So right now is my time where I get to see more of the original Dark Souls story, which I'm so excited for after you hyping it up. And of course,
Oh
Sad
yeah.
Boy Sean always hyping it up for me.
Dude, it's what's so fascinating to me is like, so when I've played those games, all of them, Bloodborne, all, I've never ever played with anybody. I've had people come in like when I got really stuck on a boss or whatever, but I've never done it like that. sometimes just people chatting on a headset can kind of ruin the vibe of a game. Like, I can't imagine that game with someone else in it, only because, dude, like the first time I played that game, how we always talk about in PUBG, the sweaty palms and just getting kind of, that emotion. Dude, that game does it to you just in spades everywhere you go. Like, even just getting to the next bonfire, going 10 feet further than you did the last time, not knowing what the hell's around the corner. Dude, and that game throws a lot of shit at you in places where you don't expect it, right? Which you kind of get used to knowing every corner to look around, right? Because something's going to come at you. But have you played any of it solo, or is Sad Boy kind of?
I've only played it solo before. Sad Boy's taken me through every single title thus far. So, I've had the different dichotomy of what Tom just said. I've always played it co-op, and I find it extremely fun because Sean kind of knows the roots. He shows me the different side bosses that you might not have ever seen. He explains the weaponry to me, the different armor sets, and, kind of fashion souls is what they call it if you want to look cool or what they really get into. So I'm blessed to have Sean. I would not play that game single player ever again because of how much fun I've had co-op. And, of course, me screaming at Sad Boy Sean to save me all the time. So it's totally worth it to me. But, you touched on a point that really resonates with me. It's amazing that I can remember so much of that video game from playing it 7+ years ago. I mean, I remember the layout of the tutorial map. I remember the layout of the first mission all the way up to the crazy centaur beast up on the bridge. I remember the map all the way through the Red Dragon, up the hallway where there's this crazy pig bull, all the way up to the bell towers. It is unbelievable that I could close my eyes and remember every enemy, every step that you got to take, because that game is just so much fun with me. And it would be funny if I could jump back into Bloodborne or Dark Souls 2 or 3. I bet you I could remember every single landscape if you dropped me into one of the maps, because I've put so much time and energy into them. Whether you play solo or co-op, you just kind of start memorizing where the crazy points are. So, wow, amazing to think I'm having so much fun returning to that.
Dude, I love it. God, it makes me so happy to hear this from you, man.
Dark Souls, baby. That's what I'm thinking in my head.
And by the way, that map, not to interrupt you, but the thing about that game that was so incredible too, like you said, you can remember stuff by the way, you're just at the beginning of the game. Like that game is really big. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of really memorable stuff. And you will learn that map. The way that they unlock the map, to me, is probably like the single most, any open world like that's not, I mean, it's open, but it's kind of not open. They do the most brilliant job of connecting everything at some point, right? So you'll be 50 hours in and you'll unlock, whatever the next, world is or whatever. And then you'll figure out that it connects to the very first world that was 1 minute into the game. There's a door to get to this spot. Like, they do just the most brilliant job of connecting all the pieces to make that world feel like it's real, make it feel like it's alive. Dude, I can't wait for you to keep going. Just promise me one thing, that you will not quit. You got to see it through to the end, because we got to talk about some of the bosses towards the end. The last boss to me is still, it took me a month to beat literally a month to beat the final boss. It was that crazy. So, dude, I can't wait for you to keep grinding with Sean.
I love it. Well, that's my goal. I'm not giving up. Sad Boy Sean always calls me, says get on. I'm like, but I'm always down for it. The final game that I've been playing that we need to catch up on is Mario Tennis Aces. I've been playing the online beta, and let me tell you, Tom, right here, right now, I'm ready to get my polo, I'm ready to get my headband, and get my sweatbands on, because I might commit my life to this game. It is so much fun. I went from yesterday afternoon live streaming it on Twitch, where we're just kind of having fun, we're going through the motions, to yesterday evening, all of a sudden, I'm in try-hard mode. I am not speaking. I'm grunting after every hit.
God.
My arm is tensing up to the point where it hurts. It physically hurts to play. And, man, I have not had so much fun on my Nintendo Switch until right now. Mario Kart, Mario, Zelda, all those kind of went to the wayside for me. They didn't connect with me. But, man, you put Mario Tennis in front of me.
Really?
And we got a whole different story, Tom Bock. I mean,
after all of those other games, Mario Tennis is the one that got your goat.
My Switch is now on and firing up on the daily now. And I got to say, the graphics are beautiful. It's got the great tennis mechanics. Online is seeming to work well. Of course, sometimes you get matched up with somebody with bad internet. But other than that, I mean, that's only been 5 out of the 25-plus games that I've played where we've had a nice, stable connection. We're volleying back and forth. You got your special moves. I'm forehanded, I'm backhanded, I'm drop shotting, I'm lob shotting. I mean,
Oh, I
I'm
saw
doing it
you.
all.
I
And
watched you yesterday. I was
I
laughing my ass off.
cannot wait for this game to release
Oh.
in 2 weeks so I can just go crazy with it. So I got to tell you, Tom, get your Switch out, download this online beta, just give it a try. It's
I'm ready.
super fun.
Dude, I'm all. And by the way, I love playing tennis in real life. Like my wife and I play a lot of tennis. Do you have any tennis game background? Like, did you play any like Top Spin or any of those over the years? Or
That's funny you say that. I have played a lot of Top Spin on the
okay,
Xbox 360 when it first came out.
I
Or
love that
was that
game.
the original Xbox? I don't remember. But I actually, oddly enough, played a lot of Top Spin. So I have a lot of background on Mario Tennis and that Top Spin. So it just goes into this. And man, when you see those pretty graphics, how the game runs smooth, I mean, it is like everything is culminated into this where it's perfect for me. I love it. I can't wait to play more of it. What I would like to see is I'd like to see some motion control so I can get up out of my
Get
seat
up
and
and
feel like I'm really moving. So give me one Joy-Con as my racket and let me just start swinging in here because, man, I can only imagine the mayhem that would
oh
then
my
occur if
God.
you could let me stand up and start moving around with this.
Dude, it'd be a huge problem, man. That would be a giant problem in your house if you were to get up and start
I
flailing
would be
around,
coming to
swinging.
Tom Bock's house,
Oh my
whipping Wii
God.
remotes through his TV right away.
I think I've had enough of that over the last couple of weeks. Dude, that is man, and that game is fun to watch too. It's a good game to stream. I'm wondering though. So the beta is just this big massive tournament, right? Like 64
Correct. Yep.
player.
Uh-huh.
There's gonna have to be obviously like a career mode, right? Kind of like they had in Everybody's Golf or any of those kind of games, right? I'm
Yeah.
guessing they're gonna put all that in. I wonder what the real staying power of this game is. It gonna be? Is it gonna be like you get a character? Because like, dude, as you were saying, there was people that were using characters that aren't supposed to even exist in the game yesterday, right? Like the chain chomp guy and different things. I wonder if it's going to be about building your guy and your stats and it's like a constant progression of the guy, or if the online is going to kind of be the thing. Because can you imagine like doubles in that game? How fun
Oh,
that would be to play like four people.
Tom Bach, we're going to see it this summer. The Nintendo World Championship will definitely have this game. You know what I mean? Last year,
That's so
Andrea
good.
and they hosted that. This year, they're doing another one,
Nope.
and they're going to have Mario Tennis. They're going to have Mario Kart. They'll have Splatoon. But this game is going to be showcased, and I think it's the online, Tom, because you brought up a good
Yeah.
one. Is it really more of an RPG thing where I'm boosting Luigi's stats over my story, or is it simply kind of like Smash Bros. Where throughout the story I unlock more
Same character,
characters, and then
right?
bang, I'm out on the online, and that's where I'm really proving my worth, because I think that's where it's going to be. And man, to see that 64-man tournament bracket, that was cool. I mean,
It was
that
really
was
cool.
really
Yeah.
cool seeing. You've never seen that in a Mario game before, so that was really cool.
Now tell me now, just real quick, do you feel like it's a game of skill? Like, do you feel like? I mean, I know I was joking, it was busting your chops with people kicking the shit out of you yesterday, right? Um, so there's obviously like a pretty decent amount of you can genuinely get good. I mean, even though it looks like a cartoony game, that there's a skill level to it. Could you feel that in playing it?
Oh, definitely, Tom. I mean, you could tell the people who had just gotten the game as opposed to mine, maybe like 4 or 3 hours into it, the
Yeah.
juxtaposition of I had that skill gap on them. And then you could tell when I played those guys who had 5,000 plus points. Mind you, I had 1,000 after 4 hours of gameplay. So you could tell they played a bunch and they knew every move to make. I mean, one guy is sitting on wherever the ball would land, there's always a star there to tell you where to go. And he is at every single part just smashing it right back at me. And you could tell he knew what to do, where
Oh,
to
yeah.
be, and what to go. And so I got to say, there's definitely a skill gap. And like I said, with this Nintendo World Championship, if this is part of it, it will be amazing to see the top players in the world play this game at a high level. Because, man, is it incredible. And it's fast and furious. You got to be moving if you want to keep up with these people.
Dude, I hope there is, because as you know, that's the danger of those games. I mean, think back to like, and it was so revolutionary at the time, but like Wii Tennis, right? You'd play it normally, and then you'd realize you just had to kind of wave your arm someplace, and it would still do the same thing, right? Like my kid at 10 years ago could play it just by like spazzing out in the room. So there really wasn't a skill gap. Like I remember ping pong kind of being that way, right? Remember Wii ping pong?
Yep.
And as fun as it was, there was really I mean, there wasn't any. And like even with Mario Kart, there's a really big skill gap, right, between the really good players and that learn tricks and learn where to go. I can't wait to see where that one goes, because that's what's going to keep that game popular is, or like Splatoon. Splatoon's got a huge, skill issue where, or not issue in a bad way, but you got to be good at that game. I mean, you can get wrecked really easily if you're not as good as the people who are really good at that game. So I hope I hope that's where that game goes.
No doubt. And I hope that there's massive support for this because that I'm a big sports guy, and B, I'm a big video games guy. And I think Mario has done a fabulous job connecting both of those into some of the games that they've had, whether it be the Mario Strikers with the soccer, whether it be Mario Baseball on the Wii, whether it be Mario Golf, tennis. They've had basketball before. These are the type of games that are fun on your console where it's not do or die basketball like NBA 2K18.
Oh, right.
It's not MLB The Show. This is like, hey, anybody can play this. There's still a skill gap to make it competitive, but you have all of the fun Mario characters. So I hope that this continues to progress that because I would love to see Mario Golf on my Switch. I need to see a Mario Soccer again on my Switch. And if we can get a Mario 3-on-3 basketball, I'm all about it, baby. Let's hit the streets with Luigi and Mario. Come on now.
Dude, you love these kind of like sports games that are not like realistic sports games, like the ones that are like the NBA jams and like all that stuff, right? That's awesome.
Oh, it's the best. Well, Tom, that is now us catching up, talking about all the games that we've talked about. I know you and I are itching to get into this next topic right now. So everybody out there in the chat, watching live, or everybody on the YouTube, blow the whistle one time because we are heading in to topic number 2. And we got some good sports talk coming your way with the NBA Finals now underway. We got to recap really quick the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. We'll just breeze through those. And then we got to talk about Game 1 that just happened in Oakland, California. The Golden State Warriors and LeBron James and the Cavs. Let's start off with the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. What did you take away? Just really quick, Tom.
Yeah, really quick. It kind of played out the way we thought, right? Even though we haven't recorded in 3 weeks, I think you and I both kind of said, hey, these are clearly the 2 best teams in basketball, and it would sort of end up where it did. Man, shout out to Boston, though. Like, what's funny, man? Every time I get into this time of the season, I always think about, and we can talk about what happened in Game 1 in a minute, but I always put myself in the shoes of a fan of that team. Like, what would I think if I was a Cavs fan, even though I'm not, or like a Raptors fan, or a Celtics fan, or a, Oklahoma City Thunder fan. I always kind of try to reverse it. Man, there's only a handful of teams I think that can say they had a legitimate shot. Basketball generally, like you and I love it for, the better team almost always wins a series. Like maybe a game or two you can have, but a series, it always kind of works out that the best team wins. But if I'm a Boston fan, my God, I've got a bright future. And I am ecstatic about what the next 5 years, if they can keep that kind of core group together, right? The age of that team, I mean, they're going to have 4 top 20 players that are all under the age of like 26, 25, right? For years to come. So I'm huge if I'm them. I'm not real happy if I'm a Raptors fan, just because I'm like, what the fuck else, excuse my language, do we have to do to ever get anywhere past what we did? We win 60 some odd games. We still can't go anywhere, right? If I'm a Thunder fan, I'm kind of thinking, did we have a shot this year or did we really not? How do you have that kind of talent and not progress further than they did, right? All that said, these are the teams I expected to be there. These are the 2 best teams in basketball, hands down. And so, dude, these next shit's going to get crazy from here on out. Let's just say that. There's no question that this series is going to get chippy. There's going to be ejections. It's about to get wild.
You hit the nail on the head right there, Tom is right. I mean, East Side, you got to be proud of Boston. This is going to be a team that's going to be relevant for the next decade. Jason Tatum right there, I believe, is only 19 years old. The man is a monster. Jaylen Brown, Scary Terry Rozier. They didn't even play with Kyrie or Gordon Hayward for more than half the season. These guys are all-stars, superstars in their own right, and they're going to come back and fuel the fire for that team. And like you said, I would be writing strongly worded emails to the Boston Celtics organization. There is no reason to get rid of anyone. I think we got a great core group. I think we got great role players, and there is no reason to get rid of any player at all. I mean, Marcus Smart's got to stay there. That Aaron Baines has got to stay there. Al Horford, for being as old as he is defeating Father Time. He has to stay there. And so if I'm a Boston fan, keep the whole group. Let's rebuild. Let's get on to next year. And then on the opposite side, I'll touch on it. Houston, they wowed me, Tom. You know, you and I talked about it. I didn't think they could compete with the Golden State Warriors, and they put up Game 7. They battled them. But, man, that Clint Capella, that P.J. Tucker, that Eric Gordon, that James Harden, Chris Paul, that combo with Trevor Ariza, that's a strong, firing team.
It is.
And those are names that some of you household members, maybe not big into sports or just a casual fan, wouldn't even know. And you're thinking, how did that squad keep up with 5 of the best players in the world right now? And they put them to the test right there. You know, Chris Paul hitting that hamstring injury, that might have caused the downfall in Game 7. But
Do you
really,
think it did?
I think it was a big factor. But what I was just going to say is I think the biggest factor, Tom, is 27 missed three-pointers in a row.
It's insane.
Chris Paul would have came in there as the captain, as a senior guy, and told them, stop doing that. You know what I mean? I have full faith that if he was in that game, he would have controlled the tempo and not letting that happen, because they were in full control of Game 7 in Houston, mind you, and they proceeded to just start yakking them against the best three-point shooting team in the world, which is the Golden State Warriors. And if you want to do that, they'll go tick for tack with you any day of the week. And if you miss 0 for 27 in a streak, guess what's going to happen? The game is going to end, and that's exactly what happened. So, impressed. I think James Harden's going to win MVP this year. We kind of know that. I think that's a great team. But now the question becomes, is Chris Paul staying? Can they attract somebody else like a Paul George, a LeBron James, a Kawhi Leonard to come to this team in Houston to battle on against the Warriors? But all in all, the 2 best teams have moved on to the finals. We discussed that. No matter what, if you're not happy with it, your team needs to get better. That's how the NBA works. The best teams will always get to the finals. And here we are. Game 1 was a barn burner, Tom. We went into overtime in Oakland. I mean, you got to give props to Cleveland for LeBron James playing all 48 minutes of Game 7 back in Boston out there to come into this game and compete with this team. They were up, they were down, but they were right next to this team the whole time. I don't think they ever got too far away, and there it was. We went into overtime. It was amazing. What were your thoughts on that one?
Well, back to if I'm a fan of a team, what do I think? And by the way, I love the Houston synopsis too, because that's a team, if you're a fan of that, you hated the way that season ended with the injuries. But dude, if you're a Cavs, the Cavs got screwed in that game. Whether that call was the right call or the wrong call, and I'm referring to the charge block on Durant, right? No matter whether that was right or wrong, that is not was his foot on the line, inbounds, out of bounds, in the charge circle. That's any charge. As a guy that played basketball, it's like that's a judgment call. Replay should never overturn that. And I actually agreed that it probably was a block, like he should have gone to the line. But if he made that call as he made it on the court, you can't prove that call either way. That's not a black and white, his foot was on the line or not on the line kind of a thing for replay. So, man, they got screwed. They got screwed on that call. Obviously, they could have won the game with the free throw and then the JR thing, which is we'll talk about in a minute. But, man, that really rubbed me the wrong way, that replay got used the way it did on that play, because that really did change. Because then Steph came down, hit the 2, and got fouled and ended up tying up the game or going up at that point, right? So the NBA's got to clean that crap up. If you're going to use replay, you got to use it either all the time or none of the time. You can't go back in the last minute of the game and flip a call like that. You just can't.
Man, that's crazy, Thomas, right? It's one of those, myself, and I'm sure yourself as well, we've never played at the professional level, so we've never got to have replays. I'm out there playing street ball in men's league. It's whatever the ref calls, we're moving forward with it. There is no, hey, check the tape. So it's a whole different beast when you come into something like that where they have Secaucus out there with the full referee staff and 100+ camera angles, and they're reviewing every single play that happens. It just becomes a question if the refs are going to go review it. And that's an interesting one, Tom, of 30 seconds remaining. The game is on the line, and they're going to go back and review. But I will say the funniest moment of the whole night was when they were with Stan Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, and he proceeds to go, calls up Secaucus, and he goes, hey, Jim, did you see that call? Jim is standing in front of 100 different televisions with the same play on replay, and he goes, yes, Stan, I saw the call. It's like, what did you think? Did you see the call? The man's job is to watch this.
Right.
That was my favorite part of the night right there. But, that changed the tide. Steph gets the and one. Now George Hill. We got to talk about him. George Hill, I was writing you in real time. This guy is a veteran, Tom. He has been in the league for 10 plus years. He's done it all. And now when we talk about J.R. Smith, you got to talk about the first parts. If you are a professional athlete like George Hill, you have been in the league for 10 plus years, you better knock down these free throws. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care how you feel. You better knock these down. That's what you get paid to do. And this man went up to the line. First one is perfect. I wrote you, I said, Tommy's not even smiling. You can tell this man is under pressure. And the second one just clangs off the rim. I mean, come on, dude. You got to get
short.
these.
Yep.
And he misses that. And then we lead into the J.R. Smith conundrum of, always talk about it, no matter where you are in life, whether you're a ball player, just a person walking down the street. It's called situational awareness. You need to know what is happening around you in real time. J.R. Smith is over there picking his nose for a grand total of 10 plus seconds during the free throw whole situation. Doesn't think to himself, look up at the scoreboard, look up at the clock, understand what's happening, and be ready for that, because he rips down a rebound over Kevin Durant, mind you.
Kind of pushes him a little bit.
Kevin Durant never should have let that happen, but right then and there, if you get that rebound, you're going back up with it. But also, I want to touch on one more thing before I let you take over, Tom. It's not just JR's fault. If I'm LeBron James, if I'm George Hill, if I'm any player on that court, that's my responsibility to ensure that I go tell one of my teammates the situational awareness and tell them what's happening. That's somebody else's fault for not telling JR that. I don't care if JR didn't understand it. You should have been down his throat knowing who JR Smith is, telling him there's 4.2 seconds on the clock and we're down by one and we're tied. You better get this ball. And that's their fault. That's a team effort right there.
Yeah, man, I hear you on that. So as you know, I mean, when you go in the huddle before that, and they had a timeout, right? So they got in the huddle and they talked about, as they do in everything, if we make, here's what happens. If we miss, here's what happens, right? They lay out two scenarios for everybody to sort of react to, right? Because they got to have decisions made quickly based on something that they don't know at that time what's going to happen. Dude, but if you go back and watch, and I was watching sort of the next day, all the bajillion talking heads talking about it, you can see right before the second free throw, if you go back and watch it, so Draymond and KD switched, and JR is literally like pointing up. You can see he puts his arms up. You can see that even at that moment, so to your point about they should have grabbed him and said something, you could see right before the shot went up, if you go back and watch it, he didn't know what was going on. He was asking for help from somebody to kind of give him, and I think he was looking for the number of timeouts or something. You could kind of see him do this, and he was asking some kind of question. But you said the funniest thing of all, which is, most players I don't cut any slack to on that one. You're a professional athlete. You don't need to be reminded, because you were just reminded in the huddle 30 seconds ago what to do on a miss or a make. But it is JR, not to criticize the guy, but I mean, you know the level of people's sort of involvement when you play with him, as long as he has. And dude, he even tried to say he didn't do it after, right? I mean, that's just JR. That's just who he is. But man, that was great. To get the rebound, first of all, was a mass. I mean, no one's given him any credit at this point for getting that rebound.
Love. Give some love.
Mean, he gets it over a 7-footer with like 18 feet arms, and he somehow gets the rebound. I mean, again, if I'm a Cavs fan, yeah, I got a lot to take out. But they could have, should have. I think that they do like what is the percentage, kind of like in Detroit, what's your win probability? I think going into that second free throw, they were like at 89%. They should have won that game at that point. That's got to be devastating. You and I, as Dubs fans, like, love it, but can you imagine how flippin' devastated you would be if you were a Cavs fan watching that shit show happen at the end of that game?
Heartbreaking, Tom, because then that goes into overtime. The Warriors just steamroll them, and now here we are on a Sunday afternoon, getting ready for Game 2. And, Tom, I'm going to put it down on the table right now. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, all of the air has been taken out of them. They have given it their all during Game 1. And for that mistake to happen, I don't see them coming out and competing with this team. I could see a big blowout on the side of Golden State here in Oakland. And then they're going to have to regroup in Cleveland for Game 3. But I don't think we're going to get as tight of a game that we just saw here on Game 1 for Game 2. I think you just punched them in the stomach, and LeBron and the crew really need to take about a week to readjust to this one, because I don't see them coming back and battling this squad.
Dude, they would have been better off literally losing that game by 50 and having that not have happened, because even like the last 24 hours, just watching LeBron get interviewed, NG Hill and everybody else, dude, that loss really hit them hard. And even LeBron even said, I was shocked that he said it after a game one, just because you don't want to give your opponent, excuse me, kind of any fuel. But he said it's one of the hardest losses of his career. And
Oh,
you think of what that guy's been through and the stuff he's done. By the way, what a game! I mean,
51
he
points.
and just the way that he commanded it. I mean, you and I joked during the Houston series about why does Harden look so slow and yet he gets around everybody in that crazy ISO, no matter what he does. But dude, with LeBron, there's no doubt how his greatness is. And look, I'm older than you. I saw Jordan play real time all the time, and I used to always say the thing about Jordan that was amazing was every single game, man, that Joker had two or three highlight reel plays, like legit highlight reel. You couldn't believe he made those plays every single game, and he did it game in and game out, 82 games a year, right? Dude, LeBron's greatness is the fact that he can dominate a game at the way that he does at the time he needs to do it amongst the kind of talent. I mean, of the top 20 best basketball players in the world, there's probably six of them on the court right there with you, right? And he can still dominate those guys. And I loved him and Steph talking at the end of the game and him shoving Steph. And
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, dude, this series is going to get real. But I think you're right. They had that was the worst way for them to lose because they lost on a call and they lost on a boneheaded play. And dude, that shit I watched the Seahawks in football get haunted by that play at the end of the Super Bowl for the next 3 seasons afterwards. Like one really wacky thing that happens to a team can just devastate you. And I think that thing happened. I feel bad for
Oh,
them, but that's what happened.
it's going to be amazing, Tom. So game 2 is tonight. We're going to see how this squad realigns themselves and gets back out there. Will Golden State put the slap down on them? Can Cleveland keep it close again? I mean, I don't see Cleveland taking this one. We're going to need to realign back in Cleveland for them to get a game, but this is going to be all Golden State all night long, I believe.
Dude, by the way, Clay may be out. I mean, Iggy is certainly out. Clay, I saw him in an interview this morning. He was not happy, man. He thinks JR cheap shot, not cheap shot at him, but unnecessarily took him out. So, I mean, do you change your mind if there's no Clay and no Iggy? Could they possibly bounce back and win this game?
Absolutely. I think they will. I think that KD is just so great. KD is it's unbelievable to watch Kevin Durant in his prime right now.
Yeah,
That
no,
guy
I'm
will
with you.
pull up on anybody in his face, whatever size you are, and still get to jump over you. It's unbelievable. And you can tell the tenacity in his eyes of like when they're down and it's crunch time, he knows he's got to turn it on. You know, LeBron does that all game long. KD
He
seems
does.
to save it till the end where he gets that killer instinct. But once it's on, this man is unstoppable, even if LeBron James wants to guard him. So I'm still going to put my chips on Golden State.
Okay. Okay. I think I will too, but I think it's going to be like I honestly think it's going to go six, if not seven. I genuinely do,
Woo!
dude. I
Woo!
just it's hard for me to see LeBron getting beat 4 times. Like I just still have a hard time seeing that. So we'll see.
All right. Well, that wraps up. Put the buzzer on it. That wraps up game
Wah.
time. Topic number 2. Of course, we love talking sports here, but we're going to wrap up this episode with a quick talk about the impending E3 video game conference coming your way. We've already had leaks. We've already had pre-discussion on video games from Nintendo to Bethesda to Ubisoft, so we've seen plenty already. But Tom Bock, I know you've been diving in, gearing up, getting ready for E3. Why don't you start us off? Tell me a little bit about your, ideas or thoughts coming into E3 and maybe what you're excited for.
Dude, I love E3 in general. Like it's always like for every gamer, right? It's like Christmas. It's a great week. I tweeted something out the other day that I honestly think is the truth, which is I have no flipping idea what to expect from E3 this year, which is really weird, right? I think a couple of weeks ago we sort of ran through like all the big game releases coming out for the rest of the year, and it seemed really light at the time. We talked about it being light, a bunch of crap we don't know. We know Studio XYZ is working on something, we just don't know what. And yeah, there's some big games, the Spider-Mans and the Red Deads and stuff that, is still pending out there. But dude, there's a lot of white space out there this year that I honestly don't know what to expect, especially from Microsoft because, they had their. If you rewind a couple months ago, you and I were talking about, oh man, Sea of Thieves really going to be great. They're going to have finally something to compete with this barrage of flipping PlayStation titles that are coming out, right? Wah wah. Sea of Thieves wasn't what anybody thought it was. I'm sure it's a great game. It just didn't catch a ton of people's interest. The next one was State of Decay. It's like, okay, we got this other thing that could be. Probably didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. And if you look at what else is out there, dude, there's basically nothing, which is crazy to me that Microsoft, this juggernaut of a company that I live in their backyard and I have tons of neighbors that work there and I go up to the campus like all the time. We sell a bunch to them. It's a massive, amazing company no matter what anybody thinks of them. And the fact that there's so little going on leads me to believe that that's not the case. There's way more going on. They just haven't said anything about it yet.
Good
And
answer.
so I am leaning towards there's going to be some really giant, oh my God moments because there has to be. I mean, if there's not, then you tell me what does Microsoft have coming out for the rest of the year? There's nothing of any real substance, right? That not the way that other past years have been when they had the Forzas and a Halo and a this and I mean, there was 7, 8 games I could look forward to that were Microsoft or third party. So man, I have no idea what to expect from E3. I think Sony didn't they release a thing that said they were only going to talk about 4 or 5 games?
Correct. Sony's going to
Yeah.
keep. Sony's already told us what they're going to talk about. They're going to keep it a different kind of showcase this year, where they're going to spotlight about 4 to 5 games, like you said, and they're going to dive deep into them. And they're not worried about anything else. We're going to see The Last of Us 2. We're going to see that Ghost of the Shogun. I forget the real name of that one. We're going to see that Motorcycle Dead Rising game. What's that one called?
Days Gone.
Days Gone, and then there's one other one. I know that they've announced 4 big games that they're really going to spotlight. Other than that, they said that they're not going to go with 100+ games that you might not ever see ever again. So they're going to keep it fine-tuned. So we kind of know what Sony's doing. Nintendo, they went big. They showed us Pokemon on the way, which we knew Pokemon was coming. We already know Smash Bros. Is coming. So now it's time to get that more in-depth look on both of those titles. And I think they do a good job at, like, here's the teaser. This isn't the in-depth look. This is just a teaser. And then when we come to E3, we're going to show you what Pokemon Eevee Go and Pikachu Go truly are. We're going to tease the next-gen Pokemon that we told you is coming out in 2019, So I'm super excited for that, being a Pokemon fan. I'm excited for Smash Bros. I like knowing that my Switch is about to hit its prime in the next 3 years. I mean, truly, you know that now as we continue on. This is going to be the game time for the Switch. And what I keep in the back of my mind, Tom, that keeps scaring me, people keep talking about console cycle generations. We're about to hit that marker where it's time to kind of announce a new console, time to move forward. And it's been a little bit of a different console cycle this year of having the PS4 Pro, having 3 different iterations on the Xbox One. It's tough for me to think, man, I'm ready for the Xbox 2 or the PlayStation 5, whatever they want to be called, because I've bought in both of these generations. I've had 3 different Xboxes in my house it's been almost 5 to 7 years now. It's hard to believe that, but it's amazing to think that we're going to talk another console because I'm not ready for that.
Does it matter? I mean, yeah. Does it matter though? So I mean, if you think about what Xbox has now done with backwards compatibility, with things like Games Pass, with clearly going to kind of a games as a service thing, does it become more like? I mean, think of PCs, right? That's the most obvious example because an Xbox is just a PC, as is a PS4, right? They're architecturally almost identical to what a computer is. You don't count console generations in computers. It's just the next thing, and they keep building more hardware and software that does it. That is where this is going with Xbox and PlayStation. So whether they release a PlayStation 5, and PlayStation may be a little different only because they really haven't figured the backward compatibility thing out. And so people, if you're an Xbox buyer, as you are, more so than a PlayStation, I mean, you have them both, but you play more Xbox. I'm not scared by Microsoft's next thing because I know that all my old stuff's still going to work. So I'm not going to feel, it puts them in a weird place because you're not going to be compelled to buy it the way that I was every time a new generation came out. It's like, oh, PS4 is coming. There's 5 new games. I can't play them on PS3. Shit, I got to buy a PS4. Boom, off to the races. They sell a shitload of consoles and a bunch of titles. And then everybody forgets about the PS3. Microsoft doesn't have that problem anymore. They've cracked backwards compatibility. They've clearly cracked it, right? They've got Azure, the huge their cloud. That's billions and billions of dollars of infrastructure that they spend to do all this. So I'm not scared of them putting out the Xbox One Y. Who the hell knows? Doesn't matter.
You hit it right on the head, Tom.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm afraid of is if I lose connection with you. So what the true message is they've done a great job of keeping us all connected, whether you have the VCR, Xbox One, or you have the Xbox One X. We're all still connected in the same eco-cycle. The
Right.
same thing that you just brought up, the PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4. If they say, hey, we're coming out with the Xbox 2, it's going to have 5 games, but you're not going to be able to play Call of Duty. You're not playing all these games with your buddies back on the old generation. That's when I get frustrated and worried.
That's true.
Because that means you have to buy the next console. But if it is simply, we're going to start moving into this computer-like generation where I'm just going to beef up the Xbox One and make it different titles, but we're all still together, then I'm just fine. Then I don't have to worry to rush out to the store, get the pre-order, spend $700 when I'm not quite ready for it. Because truly, I'm in my comfort zone right now, and I feel like the Xbox and the PlayStation are hitting their prime. I think we could go for another 4 or 5 years and not have to worry about it. But that's not how people do things here, you know?
No, it's not going to happen, man. They're publicly traded companies. They're revenue driven. They want to sell more stuff. They want to sell new stuff, and they're going to do it. They're going to keep doing that. Although I will say, again, we've talked about this before, kind of where Microsoft has fallen short, which it's almost laughable now how short Microsoft has fallen relative to software. Like look, I don't have a dog in the fight either way. That I'm a huge gamer. I love all the platforms. I don't favor one over the other. There's things like you and I talked before that we'd like about one or the other. But man, it is. I've never seen Microsoft in this position before where they don't have at least, if not better, on par or just slightly below what anybody else was doing. I mean, Sony is eating them for lunch in terms of software and titles. And I think it actually may have been like some video, maybe even like a Colin Moriarty thing I saw in one of his new side quest things, was talking about just the facts. Take Metacritic, take the last 10 first party Sony games versus Microsoft games, and it's like laughable. Like what a huge lead Sony has in terms of putting out, first party software. And I just don't get it, man. I'm like, we talk about PUBG and how frustrating it is that this game is still so sub-optimized, and it's the one game besides Minecraft. Well, Minecraft's now and everything, but they have one game that they truly uniquely own. Yeah, PC too, but that's mainly Microsoft too, right? That's in a Windows 10 environment. How in the world have they not fixed that freaking game? They have one game that the world loves, and it's a piece of shit, and it black screens 25 times a night, and fix it, make it better, do what Fortnite is doing. Like it's so frustrating. So anyway, I think E3 is going to right the ship back to the topic for Microsoft. I pray that it does. I want to see not only announcements, but I want to see like games soon, kind of Bethesda style,
right away.
Like I want to see, hey, Fallout 76, and it's coming like November. Assassin's Creed, it's coming like now. If they don't, dude, they're teetering on a dangerous thing right now, because as you know, like you said, you lose people to an ecosystem, that's when you're in trouble. Like they don't come back. They don't, right? They migrate, their friends migrate, and you lose them forever.
I mean, Tom, you said it right. They've been quiet, and if you add up the years, it's time for another Gears of War. It's definitely time for another Halo. These are those big console exclusives that have to come out sooner than later. We can't wait 4+ years for a Halo. It's time. Get that title out there. This is your flagship title out here, and it's your biggest one. We can't hang our hat on Crackdown 3. We can't hang our hat on Sea of Thieves and State of Decay. It's time to pull out the big dogs in the fight. It's time to show off what you really got. So I expect us at the E3 for Xbox to actually have a pretty big year. Will we get Skate 4? God, we can only hope, okay? If you get Skate 4, I'll give you anything that I don't even care if you don't announce anything. Right. I bet you they announce Ori and the Blind Forest 2, even though I didn't care for that game. That game will probably be a must-see. But it'll be interesting to see, like you said, they've been so quiet. There's so many titles that they got to talk about eventually. And is this the year? It feels like it has to be, because we're all culminating to an only PlayStation exclusive world here in a minute, which is tough to think about. But I do want to touch on one again. This has been 7 Assassin's Creed titles in a row. Shout out to Jason Schreier out there from Kotaku, wrote an article about this, that have been leaked, Tom. So I got to ask you, how does this constantly happen? I mean, I don't care if we're on a yearly basis, a bi-yearly basis. Why are we sending out keychains and T-shirts to different places all around the world a week before we announce this game? What is the difference between me sending you all the care packages on E3 right after I announce it? Why do you have to have the Assassin's Creed logo and title in your hands right now? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Dude, I think it's just, I mean, a couple thoughts come to mind on that. First of all, I'm amazed it doesn't happen more often in a funny way, right? So one of my things in my job, I work with a lot of the big developers selling them hardware, right? So EA, Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft, those are all my customers, right? They're huge companies that have a ton of different stuff going on, right? And so you think about the group that orders the keychains versus, I mean, there's so much complexity in trying to get everything timed out. I'm amazed it doesn't happen more often, if I'm being honest, because dude, think of how tight-lipped some of these companies have to be when it comes to, I mean, like when Zelda came out as an example, everyone knew it was coming, but dude, that game had to have been in development for like 5 years, and no one saw any of. I mean, you didn't see Zelda hardly at all before it actually came out, right? There's other games that do that too. It's like God of War. They showed a lot of it, but you knew Sony Santa Monica was working on that game for like 3 years. I'm shocked that these leaks don't come out more just by some, slapdick post something like it. You'd think it would happen all the time. I'm amazed they keep a lid on it. But to your point, like when it happens, it's so egregious. Like, really? A T-shirt? Like a
Oh,
keychain? Like your keychain buyers got out of sync with your developers and they placed an order. And I mean, it's bizarre that I always wonder if it's staged. Like, did they do it on purpose for publicity? Because people talked about it, didn't they?
now
So
now it's a hot button topic, and now we know the title, we know the setting. We're excited because man, I think everybody's hit the nail on it right now. Is that last Assassin's Creed game was amazing,
it
truly
was, yeah.
so much fun. I know you poured a whole lot of time into it. It was beautiful. It was a reinvention of the game to get you reinvigorated, get you back in there, and now to think that we're gonna call it Assassin's Creed Odyssey and go to more of a 300 Roman Greek type style. I'm all for it. Give me what we just got in that setting. Let's go, because it's going to be a whole lot of fun again.
They did a great job at the last one, dude, but they got to be really careful with the fatigue that they got the last time, right?
It's
There was
true.
a reason that it got where it got, and so they got to really be careful about, do we do an every year thing? Do we stagger it a little more? Because not only was the game that much better, so that it automatically did better, but it was because people had a little bit of a break. Fuck, I had a 2-year break from the last one, and so I was excited to check out Origins, and it was a stellar game, dude. That game is fantastic by any measure to me. There was still some janky shit, but by and large, it was great. So they got to figure out if they want to go every year or do they want to kind of space it out. But I'm excited for this one. Do we know? I mean, do we have a release date on Odyssey or not
The, the hot topic right now is it's coming out this October
this
or
year?
November.
Okay.
They think it will be
So
this year.
So do they again, they've been developing this. Think about this. Probably for 3 years, like most of these big games, 2+ years. So again, the fact that it hasn't leaked yet is may not be too strange of a thing that it hasn't happened. So
Well, I got two more that I want to talk about with you, Tom. First one's an easy one. Over or under, we see Aisha Tyler come back. You know what I mean? You and I talked about it before. I
Oh
told
yeah.
you I was unimpressed when she was at the game awards. She
Yeah.
gave a quick speech. She had a joke that landed flat. She had a bad
Super
mood.
flat.
She just wasn't her normal self when she's been over here with Ubisoft, just killing the conference game. So here we are again. Do you think she'll return for a third year in a row?
I do not, dude. I do not. And I think that all of these, it's so funny that you bring that up because I always watch, how many E3s have there been? There's been a shit ton of them,
So
right? And
many.
there's been so many botched things that every year I always say, you think that they would learn from past mistakes, like don't do this, don't do that, like don't do these dumb demos that like get, people talking to each other and it gets out of sync and then something screws up. It's like just figure. And Sony's done great at this, by the way. They figured out how to streamline it. But I think there was enough it's my dog barking, enough gaffes in the background that kind of threw this a little bit off for Aisha Tyler coming back. That's just my prediction.
I think so too. I think she's going to be done. It will be interesting. We're going to get to see Eves Gilmont again. We'll see what EA has in store. They're going to talk about Madden. They're going to talk
Yep.
about all their sports titles. But
The
final,
division. Yep.
the division too. We got to talk about that. But the final one I want to talk about, Tom Bock, is the heavy hitter. The one that came from last year, really put on a show, and now is going to come back for a second year in a row. Bethesda. Here we are right now. They're going to put on something big. They've done a great job, like you said, of showing titles that are coming out 4-6 months from now, not 2 years from now, but we're all itching for it. When is the next Elder Scrolls game coming out, Tom? And I don't want
man.
Elder Scrolls Online expansion. I'm talking when is the true Skyrim-esque Elder Scrolls coming out? Because that's the next game on the docket if we've been following this Fallout, Elder Scrolls back and forth.
Yeah. Don't you you have to figure they put a ton of hours into this by now, right? I mean, How many? When was the last Elder Scrolls? I mean, is that 6 years ago? I mean, if my
Skyrim
math
was
right?
wasn't it 11, 11, 11?
It was 11, 11, 11, of course,
Yeah.
right? So it'll be 7 years here, so 6.5 years. So that's one of those that they've been working on for 3 or 4 years. I mean, can you imagine the drop the mic if they come out and have a completely done game? And the funny that Fallout kind of jumped it, and I know it's not the same kind of a Fallout, but man, I really wonder if this is the year that Bethesda doesn't do something crazy and just here it is. We've been doing it. We've been working on it because they've been working on it. I mean, there's zero
Oh,
doubt that they've been working on it.
so many titles from them. You got Doom, you got Wolfenstein, you got Dishonored, you got Fallout, you got Elder Scrolls. I think there's a couple other Evil Within. They got so many titles, and they do that really cool one of showing the amusement park and what's under constructions, what's going to be shown off. And I'm excited to get back with Todd Howard and the team over there to see what they're going to show off. Because, man, that press conference is really the one to watch now after last year.
Dude, it is. And they've kind of got it dialed again. They're one that's learned from all the, kind of things that didn't go well. They've really figured out how to do a press conference and do it right. And they have the content to kind of back it up. So shout out to them for kind of doing their own thing. I think theirs I'm almost more excited for than some of the other ones. I mean, I'm excited for Microsoft's. PlayStation, I think we know what we're going to see. But, dude, I think Bethesda's is going to be super interesting.
Shout out from the live audience out there. Somebody brings up Prey. Of course, Prey is going to be a good one. We'll see if that comes back into play. That first one connected with me. I know my buddy B-Ball and Brian loved the redo of Prey, so excited to see where that go. Rage, we've already seen, 2. So we know Rage 2 is coming for sure.
Yep.
But that is going to be it for this topic. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, man, I'm excited for E3 this year. Like, this is, and I don't know what your ritual is for watching it. I always make sure that I'm home that week. I don't travel that week. I love watching it. I've been a couple times before, just as part of some of the stuff I do through work, and it's way more fun not to be there. I hate to say, because it's so crowded and it's a really stressful. I don't do great in those huge kind of crowd environments, right? Dude, I love that. That week is so much fun to me. Getting ready on Sunday night, seeing the stuff. Like, I kind of live for that 3 days. This is about as excited as I've been for E3 that I can remember, only because I just don't know what the hell's coming. I have a few titles I know they're going to show, but I'm waiting for some giant. I had no idea that this was going to happen kind of moments, and I think we're going to get a couple of them this year.
Oh, it's going to be great, Tom. It's my favorite time of year. Time to take off days of work or watch it on your phone while at work. Go check out your favorite video creators out there, all those content creators, Kind of Funny, GameStop, whoever you like. Go watch them because they're going to have a whole bunch of pre and post shows. And, of course, the final one, Tom, over and under, how many Battle Royales are we seeing? That's how we got to do it. That's how we got to finish this one.
Oh,
it's the year of Battle Royales. How many are we going to see?
I would say announced there'll be 15.
What? Whoa, Tom, that's a lot.
Like, I mean, not like the whole game is nothing but Battle Royale, but a Battle Royale mode inside of a game. They'll be fit. Like, Call of Duty said they're doing it already, right?
Yeah.
Sledgehammer, I think, or is this Treyarch's year? I don't know if it's Treyarch. I think it's Treyarch's year. They already said they're doing it. They're going to put. I mean, think of it like in Assassin's Creed. What if you put frickin' 50 assassins in like a big open world and just did like a murder fest? How cool would that be? Right? So there's a lot of ways to do Battle Royale. I think, dude, everybody is so coin-operated with this stuff, and they're seeing the success. And not only success, but it's still growing. Like, Fortnite is still growing. PUBG's not. PUBG's like half of what it was. But Fortnite is still growing, and it still has legs. And so I think there's going to be so many failed attempts at this. Like, so many people are going to try it just because why not, right? They're working on it. So I'm going to say 15. What do you think?
I'm going 6. 6 is reasonable. 6 isn't we're getting out of hand, but 6 is still a lot. Like, man, that's a lot of Battle Royales that are going to fail against PUBG and Fortnite. I don't see anybody defeating those two.
No, I don't think they will either. No.
I love it, Tom. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching the VOD on any podcast service around the globe, and, of course, YouTube. Thank you all so much for tuning in to episode 7 of the Game Time Podcast, where two of your best friends, Tommy Gun Tom Bock and your boy SnowBikeMike, get together and talk sports and everything video games related. Tom Bock, thank you so much for joining me. It's been great. I think we haven't recorded since I didn't have a beard, so it's been a long time.
Dude, there was no ginger stubble back last time we did it. It has been way too long, and let's not do this again, dude. We can't go flipping 3 weeks in between these. It's like, it can't be that far.
I love it. Tom Bock, tell them where they can find you.
Find me at Galunga on Twitter and PUBG with you.
There you go. He's got all the good dad jokes. He's going to be killing it on the E3 coverage. Don't miss it. And, of course, you can find me, your boy, SnowBike Mike, on all social media accounts at SnowBike Mike. You can also check out my Twitch page at twitch.tv/SnowBikeMike, where I'm broadcasting to you live 5 nights a week with that spicy gameplay with Tommy Gun Tom Bock and all the best friends out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week with episode 8 of the Game Time Podcast. Peach and love.
Peace.